The person who hurt me the most is the same person I wake up beside today. Ethan Parker never thought those words would become his reality. For years, Logan Mitchell was the name he tried not to remember. The name connected to crowded hallways, awkward silence, and the feeling of wishing he could disappear whenever people laughed a little too loudly nearby. Back then, Logan had been the confident kid everyone noticed. The one with the perfect smile, the perfect grades, and the kind of confidence that filled every room before he even walked in. Ethan had been the opposite. Quiet, creative, the person who preferred sketching in the corner of the library instead of standing in the center of attention. He thought the past was behind him. He had built a new life in Chicago, earned a degree in graphic design, found a small apartment with a view of the city skyline, and finally learned how to believe in himself. Then one Monday morning, everything changed. "Ethan Parker," a familiar voice said from behind him. His hand froze around the coffee cup he was holding. He knew that voice. Slowly, he turned around and saw someone he never expected to see again. Logan Mitchell stood there in a dark blue jacket, looking older, calmer, and completely different from the person Ethan remembered. For a moment, Ethan almost convinced himself that time had erased everything. Almost. "It's been a long time," Logan said quietly. Ethan forced a polite smile. "Yeah, it has." What surprised Ethan wasn't seeing Logan again. It was seeing the way Logan looked at him. Not with arrogance. Not with amusement. With something that looked dangerously close to regret. Their reunion should have ended there. A simple conversation. A few uncomfortable words. Then they could both walk away. But life had other plans. A month later, Ethan discovered Logan was the person assigned to work with him on a major design project. And somehow, the universe wasn't finished testing him. During a business trip to Seattle, a booking mistake left them standing at a hotel front desk with only one available room. Ethan stared at the receptionist, hoping she would find another solution. She apologized several times, explaining every nearby hotel was full because of a weekend event. "I can sleep on the floor," Logan said immediately. Ethan looked at him, surprised. The old Logan would have laughed. The old Logan would have made everything harder. But this Logan simply picked up his bag and walked toward the room. "You don't have to trust me," Logan said. "I know I haven't earned that. But I won't make you uncomfortable." Those words stayed with Ethan. Because the hardest part wasn't hating Logan anymore. The hardest part was realizing the person standing in front of him wasn't the same person who had hurt him years ago. That night, in a room with two people and 1,000 unanswered questions, Ethan realized something terrifying. Maybe the person he had spent years trying to forget was someone he was finally beginning to understand. Ethan had spent years preparing himself to face Logan Mitchell again, but he never prepared himself for the possibility that Logan would actually be kind. The hotel room was quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioner and the distant sound of traffic moving through the streets of Seattle. Ethan placed his suitcase near the window and looked around the room. It was simple. 2 beds, a small desk, and a view of the city lights glowing against the night sky. It should have been easy. Just one weekend. Just one project. Just 2 people trying to act like the past did not exist. But Ethan knew better. The past always found a way to return. "You can take the bed near the window," Logan said. Ethan turned around. "What?" Logan pointed toward the room. "You like looking outside when you think." "I remember." Ethan froze. That was not the kind of thing he expected Logan to remember. Not after all these years. "You remember that?" Ethan asked before he could stop himself. Logan looked away for a moment. "I remember more than you think." Those words created a strange silence between them. Ethan wanted to ask what that meant. He wanted to know why someone who had once made him feel invisible now noticed the smallest details about him. But he also did not want answers. Answers were dangerous. Answers meant opening a door he had spent years keeping closed. The next morning, they started working on their project. To Ethan's surprise, Logan was patient. He listened to every idea. He asked questions instead of taking control. When Ethan suggested a different design direction, Logan did not dismiss it like he would have years ago. He simply nodded and said, "I think you are right." Those 4 words stayed in Ethan's mind longer than they should have. Because once upon a time, Ethan had dreamed of hearing Logan respect his opinion. Now that it finally happened, he did not know what to do with it. Later that afternoon, while they walked back from a coffee shop, Logan stopped near a quiet street corner. "Ethan, I know things are strange between us." Ethan gave a small laugh. Strange is one way to describe it. Logan accepted that answer. He did not defend himself. He did not make excuses. I know I was not a good person back then. Ethan looked at him carefully. He expected a joke, a reason, anything that would make it easier. But Logan only looked honest. I cannot change what happened, Logan continued. I cannot erase those memories for you. But I want you to know that I am sorry. Ethan felt something shift inside him. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something else. Something he could not name. That night, they sat across from each other in the hotel room, both pretending to focus on work. Neither of them mentioned the past again. But Ethan noticed something. Logan had placed a pillow and blanket on the couch. He had already decided he would sleep there. He did not ask for credit. He did not expect praise. He simply respected Ethan's comfort. And for the first time in years, Ethan wondered if the hardest part about moving on was not forgetting what someone did. Maybe it was accepting that people could become someone different. Even someone like Logan Mitchell. Ethan thought the strangest part of being around Logan again would be remembering the past. He was wrong. The strangest part was realizing that Logan was becoming someone Ethan wanted to understand. The third day of their trip started with rain tapping softly against the hotel window. The city outside looked covered in silver, with people rushing down. The sidewalks holding umbrellas and coffee cups. Ethan sat at the small desk in their room, reviewing their design presentation for the 10th time. He told himself he was focused on work. He told himself he was not paying attention to the quiet person across the room. But he noticed everything. He noticed how Logan always checked if Ethan had eaten. He noticed how Logan moved his own things aside, so Ethan had more space. He noticed how carefully Logan chose every word, almost like he was afraid of making one wrong move. It was confusing. The Logan Ethan remembered had never been careful. "You are staring again," Logan said. Ethan quickly looked back at his laptop. "I was thinking." Logan smiled slightly. That is usually what people say when they are caught doing something. Ethan rolled his eyes, but a small smile appeared before he could stop it. That surprised him more than anything, because smiling around Logan used to feel impossible. Later that evening, they attended a networking event for their project. Ethan expected Logan to become the confident person from high school, the one who enjoyed being admired by everyone around him. Instead, Logan spent most of the night introducing Ethan to people and making sure his ideas were heard. When someone asked who created the main concept for their project, Logan immediately said, "Ethan did. He is the reason this design works." Ethan looked at him, almost forgetting how to respond. Years ago, Ethan had wanted just one person to believe in him. He never expected that person to be Logan. On the walk back to the hotel, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets shining under the city lights. "Why are you doing this?" Ethan finally asked. Logan looked confused. "Doing what?" "Trying so hard." Logan became quiet. For a moment, Ethan thought he would avoid the question. Instead, Logan looked down at the sidewalk. "Because I know what I was like before." His voice was calm, but there was sadness behind it. "I know I made you feel like you did not matter. And I hate that I was someone who could do that." Ethan stopped walking. He had imagined this conversation many times. In those imagined moments, he was angry. He had perfect words ready. But standing there, hearing Logan admit the truth without excuses, he felt something different. "You cannot fix everything with an apology," Ethan said softly. Logan nodded. "I know. Then why apologize?" Logan looked at him. "Because you deserve to hear it." The answer was simple. Maybe too simple. But somehow it mattered. When they returned to the hotel room, Ethan noticed the couch was already prepared with a blanket. Logan had made his choice again. Distance. Respect. Patience. Ethan stood there for a moment, realizing something he never expected. The person who once made him feel small was now the person making the most effort to make him feel safe. And that scared Ethan more than he wanted to admit, because slowly, without permission, the wall he had built around his heart was beginning to crack. The room felt different on the fourth night. Maybe it was not the hotel. Maybe it was not the rain outside or the quiet city sounds drifting through the window. Maybe it was Ethan himself. A few days ago, sitting across from Logan Mitchell in a small hotel room would have felt impossible. Now, it felt complicated. And somehow, complicated felt less painful than anger. Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, looking at the presentation notes in his hands. He had read the same page 3 times without understanding a single word. His mind kept returning to one question. When did Logan become someone who cared? "You are doing it again," Logan said from the other side of the room. Ethan looked up. Doing what? Thinking so loudly that I can almost hear it. Ethan gave a small laugh. That is not a real thing. Logan smiled. With you, I think it might be. The simple joke caught Ethan off guard. Years ago, Logan's words had always made him feel uncomfortable. Now, they somehow made the room feel lighter. That was the part Ethan did not know how to handle. He understood anger. He understood disappointment. But kindness from someone he had already decided to dislike was much harder. The next morning, their project meeting ended earlier than expected, leaving them with a free afternoon before their flight home. Logan suggested walking through the city. Ethan almost refused. Then he surprised himself by saying yes. They walked through downtown Seattle, stopping at small shops and quiet streets filled with people enjoying their weekend. For the first time, Ethan saw Logan outside the memories he carried. Logan was patient with strangers. He thanked every person who helped them. He laughed easily when Ethan made a sarcastic comment about expensive coffee shops. He was not the person Ethan remembered, but the past still existed. Ethan knew that. Near a small park, Logan stopped walking. There is something I should tell you. Ethan looked at him. The serious tone made him nervous. What is it? Logan took a slow breath. Back in school, I knew what I was doing was wrong. Ethan became quiet. Then why did you do it? The question came out softer than he expected. Logan looked down. Because I was immature. Because I cared too much about what other people thought. Because I thought acting like I did not care was easier than admitting I was afraid. Ethan studied his face carefully. He had waited years for an explanation. He imagined anger. He imagined excuses. He never imagined honesty. You were afraid? Ethan asked. Logan nodded. I was afraid of being different. I was afraid of people noticing things about me that I did not understand yet. But that does not excuse what I did. The wind moved through the trees around them. Ethan looked away, trying to organize his thoughts. Part of him wanted to stay angry. Anger was familiar. Anger protected him. But another part of him saw someone standing in front of him who was finally taking responsibility. That evening, when they returned to the hotel, Ethan noticed something. The couch was empty. Logan had not prepared a place to sleep. Instead, he had placed the extra blanket neatly on the chair. I thought maybe tonight we could just talk, Logan said. Ethan looked at him. For the first time, he did not see the person who hurt him. He saw someone who had been carrying regret for years. And that realization was both comforting and terrifying, because forgiving Logan meant accepting that the past was not the only thing that defined them. The last thing Ethan expected was to feel protective of Logan Mitchell. After everything that happened, after all the years spent convincing himself that Logan was only a painful memory, Ethan never imagined he would be standing beside him, wondering if Logan was finally being honest. Their final night in Seattle felt strangely peaceful. The city outside the hotel window was quiet. The rain had stopped, and for once there was no tension filling the room. Ethan sat in the chair near the window while Logan reviewed their project notes. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. It was not an uncomfortable silence. It was something new, something Ethan was still learning how to accept. You know, Logan said softly, I never thought we would be sitting in the same room like this again. Ethan looked up. Neither did I. Logan gave a small smile. I used to think I would never get the chance to apologize properly. Ethan looked away. You did apologize. I know. But saying sorry once does not undo years of memories. That answer stayed with Ethan. Because Logan was right. An apology could not erase the past. But maybe it could be the first step toward something different. The next morning, they prepared to leave Seattle. While packing their bags, Ethan found an old notebook inside his suitcase. It was filled with early design sketches from college. Logan noticed it and smiled. You still draw like that. Ethan looked surprised. You remember? Logan nodded. You used to draw during lunch almost every day. Ethan became quiet. He had forgotten that Logan noticed those moments. Back then, Ethan always thought he was invisible. He never realized someone was paying attention. Before they left the hotel, Logan stopped near the door. There is something else you should know. Ethan looked at him. What? Logan hesitated. After we graduated, I tried to find you. Ethan blinked. Why? Logan looked down. Because I wanted to apologize. But I did not know how to face you. I was ashamed. Ethan felt a familiar ache in his chest. Not the same pain as before. Something different. Something closer to understanding. You could have just said something, Ethan whispered. Logan nodded. I know. That is what I regret most. They stood there quietly, Two people connected by a past neither of them could change. When they arrived back in Chicago, Ethan expected everything to return to normal. He expected the distance to come back. He expected Logan to become just another person from his past. But that did not happen. Logan continued checking in about the project. He continued treating Ethan with respect. And slowly, the impossible happened. Ethan started looking forward to seeing him. A few weeks later, their company announced another assignment that required them to work closely together again. This time, Ethan did not feel the same fear. There was still history between them. There were still things they needed to understand. But there was also trust beginning to grow. Ethan realized something important. Forgiving someone did not mean pretending the past never happened. It meant allowing yourself to see the person they had become. And when Ethan looked at Logan now, he no longer saw the boy who hurt him. He saw the man who was trying every day to become better. Ethan never expected a simple conversation to change the way he saw his entire past. For so long, he had carried one version of Logan Mitchell in his mind. Logan was the person who made him feel small. Logan was the person he believed would never understand what those years had done to him. But lately, every new memory they created seemed to challenge that belief. A few weeks after returning to Chicago, Ethan and Logan continued working together on their company project. Their meetings became easier. Their conversations became longer. Somehow, the person Ethan once avoided was now the person he trusted most during stressful days. Still, there was one question Ethan could not ignore. Why did Logan care so much? One evening after finishing a late meeting, Ethan and Logan sat in a quiet coffee shop near their office. The warm lights reflected against the windows, and the sound of people talking filled the background. It felt strangely normal. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said. Logan looked up from his coffee. "Of course." Ethan hesitated. "Why me?" Logan looked confused. "What do you mean? Why did you keep trying? After everything?" For a moment, Logan said nothing. Then he slowly placed his cup on the table. "Because I know I hurt someone who never deserved it." Ethan looked down. He was prepared for many answers. He was not prepared for honesty. "Back then, I wanted everyone to think I was confident," Logan continued. "I thought being popular meant never showing weakness. I treated people badly because I was afraid of how others would see me." Ethan listened quietly. "But you were different," Logan said. "You were always yourself. You did not care about being the loudest person in the room. You were kind even when people were not kind to you." Ethan felt his chest tighten. Those words were difficult to hear because a younger version of himself had spent years believing nobody noticed him. "I do not know if I can forget everything," Ethan admitted. Logan nodded. "I do not expect you to." That answer surprised Ethan. Logan was not asking for a perfect ending. He was not asking Ethan to erase his feelings. He was simply accepting that healing took time. As they walked outside, the evening air was cool and calm. Logan stopped near the sidewalk. "There is something I should have said years ago." Ethan looked at him. "What?" Logan took a breath. "I am proud of you." Ethan almost laughed because the words felt so unexpected. "Why would you say that?" Logan smiled sadly. "Because I watched you become someone amazing, even after I was one of the people who made things harder for you." Ethan did not know how to respond. A part of him wanted to hold on to the old anger because it was familiar, but another part of him saw the truth. Logan was not asking Ethan to forget the past. He was showing him that the future could be different. And for the first time, Ethan wondered if the person he once thought was his biggest mistake might become one of the most important people in his life. Ethan thought he had already discovered the hardest part of forgiving Logan. He was wrong. The hardest part was realizing that forgiveness was slowly turning into something much more complicated, something warmer, something he was afraid to name. Weeks passed, and their relationship changed in small ways. Not dramatic moments, not some sudden transformation, just small things that Ethan noticed when he was not paying attention. Logan always saved him a seat during meetings. He remembered how Ethan preferred his coffee. He sent messages reminding him to take breaks when work became overwhelming. Simple things, ordinary things. But to Ethan, they felt important because they were things he never expected from Logan. One Friday evening, their company hosted a small celebration after completing their project. The office was filled with music, conversations, and people congratulating the team. Ethan stood near the window, watching the city lights outside, when Logan walked over. "You look like you are planning your escape," Logan joked. Ethan smiled. "Maybe I am." Logan laughed softly. "Some things never change." Ethan looked at him. "Actually, I think a lot has changed. The words surprised both of them. Logan became quiet. Yeah, he said. It has. For a moment, they simply stood there. Two people who once represented completely different chapters of each other's lives. One chapter filled with pain, another slowly being written with understanding. Later that night, Ethan and Logan walked through the city together. The streets were calm, and the cool Chicago air made everything feel peaceful. Can I tell you something? Logan asked. Ethan nodded. Sure. Logan looked ahead. I used to think if I could go back and change everything, I would. I would erase every mistake. Ethan listened carefully. But I realized something. I cannot change who I was. I can only choose who I become now. Ethan looked at him. Those words mattered because Logan was not pretending the past did not exist. He was carrying it honestly. You really are different, Ethan said quietly. Logan smiled. I hope so. They stopped outside Ethan's apartment building. Usually, this was where they would say goodbye. But neither of them moved right away. There was a comfortable silence between them, the kind that only existed when two people no longer felt the need to protect themselves. I am glad we met again, Logan finally said. Ethan looked surprised. Even after everything? Logan nodded. Especially after everything. Because if I never saw you again, I would have spent my whole life believing I was the worst moment of your story. Ethan felt something shift inside him. Logan had once been the person connected to his deepest insecurities. Now, he was the person reminding him how far he had come. You are not the same person anymore, Ethan said. Logan looked at him carefully. Neither are you. And maybe that was the truth Ethan needed to accept. They were not trying to return to the past. They were not pretending nothing happened. They were two people who had changed, meeting again at a different point in life. And for the first time, Ethan was not afraid of what might happen next. Ethan always believed the hardest moment would be forgiving Logan. He never expected the hardest moment would be choosing to believe in a future with him. For the first time in years, Ethan was no longer running from the memories of the past. But just when he started feeling comfortable, the past found a way to return. The announcement came during a Monday morning meeting at their company. A new article about the design project was being published, and Ethan was excited to finally see their hard work recognized. But when the article went live, Ethan noticed something he did not expect. Someone had shared old rumors from their high school years. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that could change the truth. But enough to remind people that Logan Mitchell had once been known as someone who treated others poorly. Ethan stared at the screen, feeling that familiar weight from years ago. For a moment, he was not in his office anymore. He was back in a school hallway, remembering the younger version of himself who wished someone would notice how much he was struggling. Logan noticed the change in Ethan immediately. Are you okay? He asked. Ethan closed the laptop. People are talking about the past again. Logan became quiet. Ethan expected him to become defensive. He expected an explanation. Instead, Logan simply nodded. I know. That answer surprised Ethan. You know? Logan looked down. I knew this day would come eventually. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Logan continued. I do not want you to defend me. I do not want you to pretend what happened was not real. I just want to take responsibility. Ethan looked at him carefully. This was the difference. The old Logan would have tried to avoid consequences. The new Logan was willing to face uncomfortable moments. What are you going to do? Ethan asked. Logan took a breath. Tell the truth. Later that day, Logan spoke honestly during a company discussion. He did not try to make himself look better. He simply admitted that he had made mistakes when he was younger and that he regretted the way he treated people. Ethan watched quietly from across the room. He realized something important. Logan was not changing because he wanted Ethan to love him. Logan was changing because he finally understood the kind of person he wanted to be. After work, Ethan and Logan walked through the neighborhood near their office. The evening sky was painted with orange and gold, and the city moved around them like it always did. You did not have to do that, Ethan said. Logan looked at him. Yes, I did. Ethan smiled slightly. You really are different. Logan smiled back. I am trying. They stopped outside Ethan's building. For a moment, neither of them said anything. The past was still there. It would always be part of their story, but it no longer controlled them. Ethan finally understood that healing was not about forgetting what happened. It was about reaching a place where the memories no longer decided what came next. And standing there with Logan, Ethan realized he was no longer looking at the person who hurt him. He was looking at someone who had spent years becoming someone worthy of trust. Months later, Ethan still remembered the first night he and Logan shared a hotel room. Back then, the silence between them was filled with uncertainty. Now, that same silence felt peaceful. Life had changed in ways Ethan never expected. The person he once believed would only bring painful memories had become the person he trusted most. Ethan never forgot the past. He did not want to. Those experiences had shaped him, taught him patience, and helped him understand his own strength. But they were no longer the only thing he saw when he looked at Logan. One evening, Ethan and Logan returned to Seattle for another company event. Walking through the familiar streets brought back memories of their first trip together. Ethan smiled when he recognized the hotel where everything had started. "You were thinking about that first night, aren't you?" Logan asked. Ethan looked surprised. "How did you know?" Logan smiled. "Because you have that expression when you remember something important." Ethan laughed softly. "You really notice everything." Logan looked at him. "I always did. I just did not know how to show it back then." That answer stayed with Ethan. They walked through the city, passing the same streets where they once had uncomfortable conversations and uncertain feelings. But everything felt different now. The fear was gone. The distance was gone. What remained was two people who had learned how to understand each other. Later that night, they stood outside the hotel room door. Ethan looked at the room number and smiled. "Funny how this place used to make me nervous." Logan nodded. "I know. I thought I would always remember it as a place where I had to protect myself." Logan became quiet. "I am sorry that I was ever someone you needed protection from." Ethan looked at him. The apology was not new. Logan had said sorry many times. But what mattered was that every action afterward had matched those words. Ethan opened the door and stepped inside. The room looked almost exactly the same as before. 2 beds, a small desk, a window overlooking the city. But the meaning had changed completely. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if we never met again?" Logan asked. Ethan considered the question. "Sometimes." And Ethan smiled. "I think we both would have stayed different versions of ourselves." Logan looked at him. "Is that a bad thing?" Ethan shook his head. "No. I think we needed to become who we are now." For a moment, they simply stood there, appreciating how far they had come. Their story was never about forgetting the past. It was never about pretending mistakes did not matter. It was about growth. It was about two people who found each other again after becoming different versions of themselves. Years ago, Ethan thought Logan would always be the person who hurt him. Now, Logan was the person who reminded him that people could change. And Ethan finally understood something he never believed before. Sometimes the person who enters your life as a painful memory can become the person who helps you create your happiest one.